The biggest point of today's event is to make sure that we provide some answers to you. We're not going to be able to go through every possible application there is out there, provide you with some thoughts and ideas of these are some of the tools that we have available and things that you can use to help you perform rescues, okay? And hopefully some of the things that we provide you will start to think about what to do next. Now, we showed you a little about the impact and stuff when you fall. We're looking up to about 900 pounds worth of force potentially on the body as a result of the fall. Why do we need to have a rescue plan? Anybody tell me, why do we need to have a rescue plan or be prepared for rescue? Any guesses?
The longer that person's hangs there, the more damage is done.
Absolutely, and I'm glad you said that more than it's the law. Okay, it's the law. Okay. However, it really comes down to we want to protect the people that are up there at work, our coworkers and stuff. The people that you got standing right next to you are basically an extension of your family. Some of the times you probably see these people more than your own family. You know, all the extra overtime and stuff that you put in. So the worker that you have standing right next to you is your friend. So you're not just your coworker. And if they fall, we want to make sure that you do the right things to get them down. Staying up at heights for a long period of time is not comfortable. Okay. And again, there's something that's called suspension trauma. And again, it's all part of the blood circulation cutting off to your legs. And the improper flow of that blood to the rest of your body, and then when you get down, if you get down, you can actually cause additional harm to you. But you think about people that are suspended at heights, they don't really stay conscious very long. Okay, and a lot of that has to do with what the body's trying to accomplish here. Anybody ever see anybody pass out at a wedding? Or somebody in the military pass out in the military? It doesn't happen too much at military events because they teach them how to do it properly. But weddings, people are standing upright, knees locked. Okay, military, they even tell you flex the knees a little bit, bend your knees a little bit, be able to keep the blood flow through your legs. What happens is when that person passes out, the body's saying, hey, dude, we don't have the right blood flow here. They're going to knock them down, pass them out, they lay flat. Now the blood starts flowing properly. When somebody's suspended at heights, they tend to pass out as a result of the improper blood flow. So the amount of time we have to help or have that person help us in the rescue is limited. And if we don't provide them with one of the basic tools, we're gonna cause problems for ourselves, or it's gonna delay us a little bit. And one of the basic tools that I want to encourage all of you to make sure that you have on your harness, or encourage your employers to help get you on the harness, is something simple as a suspension trauma strap. Little things that come on some of the premium harnesses, but it's an easy add-on that when somebody falls, all they have to do is unzip the two pouches off to the side, pull out the webbing, find the appropriate size or length, and then step up into it, okay? Step up into it. All they're doing here is releasing the pressure off their leg straps. Okay, they're not providing a rescue for themselves, but they're actually allowing the blood to flow and allowing them to stay conscious for us. So a simple little add to any harness out there can actually give us a little bit more time. All right? And that's what's important, is to give ourselves time. Because rescues, even though some of the equipment that we're going to show you today can happen pretty quickly, it doesn't necessarily go as smoothly as fast as we want. Because we always say that people lose a little bit of IQ the moment they get to heights. Okay, the moment somebody starts working at heights, I don't care how comfortable you are, you lose a little IQ. Okay, but now you throw in the pressure and the stress of potentially protecting, helping out your coworker or performing a rescue. Again, that whole IQ level starts to drop, especially if you're not very familiar with the product line. All right, so suspension trauma straps, critical component to your rescue plan. You do have to have a rescue plan as it's required by the law, but we'll let the EHS people handle that. What does it mean to us? Well, part of it is making sure that we have the right equipment out there for us and we know how to use it. All right? So there's basically the hierarchy of rescue is self-rescue and assisted rescue. All right? Self-rescue is when what? We can rescue ourselves, right? And that could be simple as we slide off, we start to fall, we slide partially off the roof. We have, maybe it's a roofer's operation, we're tied off to our anchor point on the top of the roof. We slip, we slide down the roof, we partially fall off, it locks up, and now we're in reaching distance of the rooftop, we can pull ourselves up. Okay? That's a self-rescue. Somebody's fallen off a ladder. The ladder's nearby. They can pull themselves back up on that ladder, climb back up on that ladder. Okay? Little things like that are what we refer to as a self-rescue, typically. Now, we do have products out on the market now that are the self-rescue. This can be simply added to a backpack, or this backpack can be added to any harness on the market. Okay, that has access to the back dorsal D-rings or back webbing. And then in the event of a fall, all the worker has to do, again, this is on the back of the harness, is reach in, pull on the ripcord, and this D-ring stays at height, and the rope that's in here, the spooled rope that's in here, allows the worker to descend to ground. And this becomes in 50 or 100 foot options. All right, so what would have taken hours, or minutes to hours to perform a rescue, potentially can be added to a worker's harness. We can turn around and provide the worker the opportunity to perform a self-rescue in a matter of seconds. All right, so there are products in the technique, the technologies out there to provide some type of function to do self-rescue amongst yourself. So it's a little limited. Self-rescue is one of the products. Climb yourself back up. All stuff that a person can do themselves. There are some really kind of technical self-rescue techniques that you could put in place, but again, that's getting to a higher level of training necessary, and again, the level of retention is really low, especially when we don't practice it a lot. Okay, pulling a ripcord on a harness, I think we can all remember how to do that. It comes almost it's like if you ever seen anybody parachute, how do they make themselves safe? They pull the ripcord, okay? And that's all we have to do for a self-rescue device, so it made it easy. So even in that stressful moment of falling, the person can do it. In the event, I get this question, in the event, what happens if that person does become unconscious? That's what this little ring is off to the side. A coworker can reach up with the rescue, pull on this, and then basically activate the system for them, right? So again, that gets into the assisted side. Okay, this is when we have to help, all right? The first thing we should do as a coworker is help with the IQ, because they've fallen, okay? They may be stressed out because of that. The whole trauma and the mental thought process of what happens after a fall completely may throw them out of the picture. That ladder may be just a reach or arm's reach away, and they can just pull themselves off to something to climb back up, or they can basically climb back up on the roof. But we have to remind them, hey, Joe, take a moment, take a deep breath, reach out to your right, pull yourself closer to that ladder. All right, that could be a simple self-assisted rescue, just providing the IQ, providing the calmness in the event to have the person provide themselves their own self-rescue. All right. Another option for us is to get a little bit more detailed, okay? Let's rescue them, okay? Anybody out on a job site that has an articulating boom lift or scissors lift around? Do we have those in the workplace? Great tool for rescue. Most of the people on the job site are potentially trained on it. Move those over into place, you provided a rescue. Simple as that. No worry about any other products involved. The products that you use on a daily basis are right there. What about a ladder? Okay, we may have an A-frame ladder. We may have an extension ladder that we'd be able to rig up pretty quickly and easily to get them down. Heck, even some of our trucks and vehicles that we have may be able to be pulled right underneath the worker, and it'd be about maybe high enough that they can climb on top of that vehicle. Okay, so we got to think about all the tools that we have available to us regularly that could be used for a rescue. So again, it doesn't have to be complicated. So think about the tools and stuff that we have available, and then for individuals or sites, job sites where there are a lot of equipment out there, let's make sure that the people that are trained on the use of the equipment, and I know that if it's a union environment, there might be a requirement on who can run it and who can't, but again, let's think about how do we do this to make sure that anybody out there on the job site can perform the rescue. There was a situation down in Houston, I think it was, where somebody fell off the bridge. Fell off the bridge, was hanging there and suspended it from heights. They trained people on their teams to do the rescues, a simple rescue technique, okay? Guess who was trained? The guy that fell. Yep, the guy that fell. So the person that was trained to do the rescue was the one that was hanging down there needing to be rescued, so nobody else knew how to use the equipment necessarily to perform the rescue. All right, so we got to think about and try to make sure that as many people as we possibly can on our work site or job site has some information and knowledge on how to perform rescues and use the equipment that's necessary. All right, the next thing is to actually perform a rescue. So let's use some equipment to perform a rescue. I always try to make sure that when I refer to do any type of talks about confined space or high-level rescue, the biggest thing is we need to make our rescue simple. Okay. Again, how many of you are on rescue teams? You have a company rescue team? Nobody? Okay. Well then, it's probably a good idea if your management didn't turn around and said, bought some really cool 3M product and said, there's your rescue equipment. This stuff is really cool and I love it. It's my product, so I love you to have it buy it. But it's product that takes a lot of training to use. Okay? And there are some companies out there that will actually use that equipment. But again, we're not going to jump into a harness. None of you are going to jump into a harness. And remember to use your rope, to tie your knots properly, to find your right anchor point, all that stuff that comes into play with the technical rescue. Okay? There are companies that will do that, but you're looking at larger companies, refineries, chemical manufacturing plants, places that actually have a dedicated team that's trained to that level, because you may not be able to get and use some of our easier equipment. However, I would argue that something as simple as our R550 is something that anybody can use, even on the technical rescues team. And I'll tell you one thing, part of you would love to get into a competition. Some fire departments have little training or competitions where they perform technical rescues, and it's basically how fast they can get somebody down. I would argue that some of the equipment that we have are pre-engineered systems. We can get in and do a rescue about half the time as they can, and with less people. Okay, and less training. All right, this needs a lot of training. Again, great products. They look cool. I love carrying them around. I love doing demos on them. But again, a lot of extra training. All right, so we got to get into something that's more pre-engineered and easy for these to use. Well, we can start. Our little guy, what's our name? Bob. Bob's fallen and he can't get down. Okay, he's on an SRL. He fell. Let's just assume, maybe we'll assume that we're a little bit higher, obviously, but he fell off this ladder. Okay, can't get to it. Okay, can't get to it. Maybe unconscious, whatever the case might be. But he didn't hit the ground, right? This is his life. He didn't hit the ground, which is a great thing. All right, so that's a good thing. SRLs or SRDs actually reduce the amount of free fall. So in this particular case, we're using a product. We're using a product, an SRL, that might look a little bit normal, but if we turn this around a little bit, spin this around, you can see that there's a little knob up there. By taking this rescue pole, I just lowered him down to the ground. So I got him down to the ground by just basically reaching out with the rescue pole. So this device is designed with what we refer to as our RSQ, which is a simple feature that allows this SRL to lock up when somebody falls, but then after they fall, it can be activated to lower the person down to the ground. We can also have it set up so that it initially is ready to go, so that if somebody falls, it locks up, absorbs the energy, and then it will automatically lower the person to the ground. So there's products again out there that are already designed with the rescue feature built into it, where all you have to do is either get above them, get them off to the side, reach up with a long extension pole, whatever's necessary, activate the system, and lower it down to the ground. If we can actually get access to the SRL itself, we can just turn the knob, and that person comes down to the ground all on their own. Body weight brings them down. Does everybody think they can know how to operate this? Okay, pretty easy, right? I mean, the worst case is that you might have to insert the device onto the rescue pole, and then maybe push a red button to extend it. Not a really difficult device to use. Another option for us in products that we have available is our R550. Great device. It's a pre-engineered mechanical advantage for us that allows us to be able to lift a person up and bring them up to heights if we need to, or it's a device that allows us to lower them down to the ground. So in this particular situation, we're going to have a different rescue tool for us. A little bit different rescue tool, but again, if we can reach out either from above or from below or off to the side, we can hook off and hook up to the individual's harness. We have the R550, which is designed with a hand wheel. All I have to do is turn the wheel, and what I'm doing is I'm lifting them up. Okay, if the SRL is long enough, I can lift them up, leave them connected, but all I'm doing is disengaging the SRL because the SRL is locked up. So we'll lift them up a little ways here. Get a 10-to-1 mechanical advantage on this, so we're going to have to make a few little turns here to get this activated. Or anybody know how to use a drill? Oops. Where's my weighted? Okay, so now what we did is we lifted them up high enough. We lifted up high enough to disengage the SRL, and now we can lower them down the ground. And the SRL can stay on them because, again, there's no reason to take it off of them. So reach out, grab them, lower them down the ground. All we did is have to lift them up high enough to disengage the SRL. So this particular device is designed for up to 2 people, so we can have up to 620 pounds on it, and we can have descents of up over 1,000 feet. So even people working up at heights, we can get them down pretty simply in the event of fall. With that drill option, again, if we don't have a safe location to bring them down, put that drill on it, we can easily bring them up to the height that we fell. Worst case scenario, you should be only about up to 17 feet away on a lanyard. Worst case would be 17 feet away. So simple devices, easy to use, easy to hook up. Now we've got this set up so it's hooked up off the ground, but again, it could be, if we could have gotten up to heights, we could have done it above them as well. You don't have to go through a turning block. It's just a matter of to show how easy it is to do from the ground. Questions so far? So we've got all sorts of options for you when it comes to rescue. Again, these are the highlighted products for sure that I wanted to identify, was the R550 and then our self-rescue device. We'd love to give you an opportunity to come and play with them a little bit, try it out, and then obviously ask additional questions. George, do you have any things or comments that you want to make?
No, you pretty much covered it. So,
yeah. So the products are there. The self-rescue device is already built into the SRL. We've got harnesses, or basically the self-rescue device that goes right directly on the harness, and I don't care if you're using one of the competitors' harness or ours, it'll fit on there and it'll work just as well. And then the R550 is a device that can be used very easily to lift somebody up, bring them up to height, or lower them down to the ground. Keep it simple. Okay, it's all about trying to make sure that whatever we do out there is simple enough that all of us can remember, not only 5 minutes from now, but 5 years from now. Okay, rescue takes practice and time. This is equipment, if pre-engineered systems or pre-rigged systems like this, turning a hand wheel to lift somebody up and letting it go the other way to lower them down is a pretty simple technique that anybody can be trained on pretty easily and don't have to use a lot of refresher courses to do so. Okay, we do have classes out there that get a little bit more into detail and specifically how to do industrial rescue, so that's always an option too. But again, this is reading the instruction manual, getting George or somebody like myself or somebody else out there to kind of show you again how to use the product is all going to make it easy for you as well. The big thing too though is, again, making it simple and keeping it simple means that you need to understand your work site too. Okay, make sure that you understand what your job sites are going to look like to make sure that you have the appropriate equipment. You don't want, I said this device can descend up to 1,000 feet. Okay, you don't really want to buy a system that's 1,000 feet if your rescues are only going to be 20 feet high. Okay, and again, likewise, you don't want to buy a 20-foot unit when you need a 300-foot unit. Right? Again, huge advantage with the R550. It's basically the mechanical advantage is in the housing itself. So most mechanical advantage, roped mechanical advantage systems like we have here on the wall, you know, if we're looking at a 4-to-1, 5-to-1, 6-to-1, we're looking at 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 times this amount of rope to get that mechanical advantage. Okay, where our mechanical advantage is engineered into the system. So keep it simple, know what situations you need and what kind of, so that way we can help identify what tools and stuff that you're going to need to use or to purchase. And then again, use the stuff around you already. Think about your stuff, and that's all part of the plan. Look at your plan, make sure that you know what's going on. And then, you know, one of the other things too is, if we're going to, no matter if you're going to do the rescue or not, okay, you're probably going to be calling 911 for assistance, right? We're going to be making that phone call to 911. Somebody's fallen. We need to make sure that that person's looked at and evaluated, transported. So that means we need to make sure that we have some communications with our local emergency responders as well. Okay, they should have an idea of generally what your competence levels are, and then also they need to know where your weaknesses are, so that they know that what kind of additional strengths that they're going to need. Okay, not all workplaces are exactly the same, and so some of them are a little bit more challenging, isolated areas in that. Remember, their response times may be different. They're responsible for the whole community, not just your own individual job site. All right. The other and probably the last thing is, if you look around this room, there's all sorts of different people working from all sorts of different companies. Okay, one company doesn't have the perfect solution. So, you know, it's wonderful that we can get together like this to do a lunch and learn. But part of the lunch and learn is to talk to one another and say, hey, what are you guys doing? Hey, what are you doing? And then try to get the best of all of those solutions to make a better plan for yourselves. Any questions? I could talk again for hours, but I'm not going to. I'd rather give you the opportunity to grab another sandwich or whatever the case might be, and then come up and talk to us individually if you have things that you want to take a look at. If you want to get your hands on some of the equipment, see how that works, come on up and do that.